Hi everyone, I'm Holly Amaya from Story and Printing, and I'm here with my co-founder, Anne-Marie Hoftailing. Hello, hello, wearing your fabulous blouse. Show everyone your sleeves.
It's all about the sleeve.
So good. You look like you're in some sort of like period painting with this whole situation. I'm feeling it.
Below it's like jeans and sneakers. Above it's like I'm in, I'm really royal. Look, like when I put my hands together, I'm like,
It's like a little muff. Yeah, like a little hand warmer. I love it. We're not here to talk about that though. If I take full responsibility for that tangent.
Welcome to our real world sort of chats here. This is how our life is. So welcome to our living rooms.
That's right. It's just like hanging out with us, just like it. If you are here, it's because you are looking for good professional development content and bad jokes maybe, and great fashion. I mean, who knows? Who knows what brought you here today?
What you're doing here, but we're so glad to have you.
We're so glad you're here. Welcome. Please subscribe to our channel, like these videos, comment on them. We want to facilitate a discussion around all the stuff that we're talking about, and your comments and your feedback help us do that. So today, Anne-Marie, I kind of want to talk to you about my sweet spot, which is PR. And as many of you who are watching, some of you may not know me, I'm a former journalist, and I've done PR and communications for many years now at a very high level for all types of companies, for individuals, for small companies, for nonprofits, for large global companies. And, it's been interesting, right, Anne-Marie, as with the pandemic, like we've gotten a lot, we've been very fortunate. We've had a lot of inquiries coming in for all of the types of work we do, including public relations. And what I've noticed quite a bit is some companies will come in, and this is not restricted to like size, industry, size of the marketing staff, nothing, but they think, so it's pretty universal. They'll come in and say like they want, a PR plan. They want to go out and they want to do earned media and pitching. And frequently I find myself sort of like pulling the reins and saying, whoa there, we need to do some of this foundational story mining work, right? And I want to be clear that this is different than just developing messaging. And I think, it's a nuance that forgive me if I'm getting wonky, but we should focus on it, because you can make talking points about a company, right? That talk about, how many offices it has, that your favorite, Anne-Marie, your favorite talking point.
Don't get me started on facts I can find on your website. Don't talk to me that. I don't like when you talk to me like that.
That kind of thing, right? Or like phrases that describe how you're responsive to clients, or you're zealous, or you're passionate, or you're an advocate, or whatever. But frequently this is not informed by any real understanding of sort of like, what are the actual stories behind this? And for me, and for us, as we've approached a lot of these new engagements, I frequently will say, rather than enter into some big bloated retainer arrangement, which is sort of the model of past, in my opinion, for PR firms, let's do this foundational work first. Let's do this project first, where we go in and we talk about, really mining for these stories and putting them in a narrative format that can then be easily replicated and sort of be living and breathing, right? I feel like I'm just going on and on and on about this. Sorry, but I just
also think, I too, like what distinguishes us in the marketplace, to your point, there really is this reactivity to just like, let's get some press and let's not think about the strategy behind it, the sort of intention behind it. What are we going to use it for? What do we want it for?
Right.
Let's think of our response to a crisis. And I think where we sit is we really want to look at things in a diagnostic, holistic way, so that we're working both surgically with greater intention and purpose, and far more economically, instead of in this way that's just sort of bloated and like, well, here we do these things every single month. And that is, in our experience, rarely what somebody needs. Wouldn't you say? Like rarely, like, I think that's the other thing that's kind of surprising to people. And I think that, one of the things that Holly hasn't mentioned because she's too modest is the thing that people always rave about is sort of how honest she is about, you don't need all of that. You just need this, and then let's wait and see.
Yeah.
And we have more people so surprised the way we approach their communication plan. And again, looking at it not just externally in PR, but how does that connect to internal? And what does that mean leadership and your team? So I think overall, like if you could give one piece of advice to people who are wanting to engage with PR and communications about how they sort of for that relationship with any given firm, even if it's not us, what would you say to them?
I would say you want somebody that's going to that's going to be willing to take a slow and in-depth look, a deliberate, not a slow, a deliberate and in-depth look at sort of the holistic communications picture, not just as it pertains to your marketing department, because we know that often those are very divorced from every other section of the business. But how is that going to inform all of the different parts of the business? And, I'm just always really wary of sort of these one size fits all communication plans, right? Where you can just tell that sort of the bullet points have been dropped from one proposal to the next, So I would also say, I know you said one thing, but this is like some part B of my.
You can two or even three if you want.
Is to really look at that and ask yourself, like, do I actually need all of these things? And are these things here just to justify a retainer or a cost, or are they actually going to be adding value to me in some significant way? I mean, I think, we have a client that's in the commercial real estate space that is really taking this very different approach to what they do. And it's, an industry that's being really disrupted. And, we sit down with them every week and we say, okay, like, here are the targets and this is the purpose for it. We're not just going to be throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall and hoping that it sticks. Now, with that, I have to say, if you're the client, you have to be patient, right? And I think that sometimes C-suite or folks at the top will just say, well, we have this money to spend on PR or marketing or communications, and so we just need to spend it, and like we want the Cadillac package, right? And then there's an expectation that all of those hits are created equal, and that's just not the case. And this just comes from being strategic, right? It's like, what are your values? What do you want? And how are you going to judge success at the end of this engagement? And to your point, I mean, we had a client recently that we engaged with and, did some great work for them. And we came toward the end of the year and I said, you know what? I think that you should take what you're paying us and go hire somebody like internally to help you manage these other things. And then in 6 months, if you figure out, the things internally that you need to figure out from a communications perspective, then come back to us, and I think people are like always surprised by that because it's, it's sort of counter to traditional capitalism, right? Like it's like we're talking ourselves out of work, but I just don't want to be doing work just for the sake of doing work. Like I want it to mean something. Agreed. This concludes my TED Talk.
Agreed. Totally agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think like the story mining piece is so huge. And if you're watching this and you're, an internal marketing or communications or PR person, and this is resonating with you, like, please drop us a line and let us know, because, I still do think these kinds of things that we're saying, like, it doesn't sound like rocket science, but it's not the norm in the PR industry at all. I look for a lot of disruption in this sector over the next, 5 to 10 years. And, I think these kinds of ideas, I hope, are going to become more prevalent, because ultimately it's going to make for better, tighter messaging that's more authentic and driven by actual humans, which are the lifeblood of any organization. So that's all I have to say about that today.
I mean, that's plenty. I think you've said a lot. I think we're all better for having heard it.
I love it. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Like I said, please subscribe, follow us on LinkedIn, Story Imprinting there, follow each of us individually. We will connect with like anybody on LinkedIn. So if you send us a request, we'll be like, we don't know you. Yes, we gotcha. So we want to hear from you. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye, Anne-Marie.
Bye-bye.